Here, in this video, we will dive into a chilling story about a man who watches his world, and everyone he cares about, slowly simplify, until nothing is quite real anymore. I remember the first time I noticed it. It was tiny, almost nothing. I was walking home from work, just like any other Tuesday in Moscow. The usual hustle and bustle, the sounds, the smells of the city. But then I looked up at the old apartment building on my street, the one with the quirky gargoyle right above the third-floor window. I've walked past it thousands of times. I know every crack, every little detail. But this time the gargoyle's face, it felt a little smoother, a little less detailed. It wasn't chipped, no, it was like someone had taken a sponge to it and just softened the edges. Like a drawing that was just a bit too sharp, and someone decided to make it look a little more, well, generic. I stopped. I rubbed my eyes. Am I tired? I thought. Maybe the light's just weird. But the feeling, that little flicker of something's wrong, it stayed with me. It felt like a tiny scratch inside my head deep down. A feeling of something being removed. The next day, it was the street signs. You know how some of the older ones, they have these ornate, curly letters? I looked at the one for Bolshia Dimitrovka Street, and one of the curls on the D seemed straighter, less fancy. And the color, it was supposed to be a deep, rich blue, but it just looked like a plain blue, not dull, not faded, just less distinct. Like the blue had forgotten what made it special. I tried to tell Anya about it, my partner. She's wonderful, you know. Always so vibrant, so full of life. We were having dinner, borscht, her favorite. I mentioned the street sign, trying to make it sound casual. Hey, you know that sign on Bolshia Dimitrovka? Looks a bit different today, right? She just looked at me, a spoon halfway to her mouth. Different. Ivan, it's always been like that. You're imagining things. Her voice, it was her voice, but there was something. A lack of curiosity. She didn't even glance out the window, didn't ask what I meant. It was just a flat dismissal. And that felt even stranger than the sign itself. It felt like she didn't even register the idea of change. The little feeling in my head, it started to grow. Not a headache, not really. More like a dull, steady pressure right behind my forehead. Like my brain was trying to push against something, or something was gently pressing into it. It felt like my thoughts were getting thinner, less sharp. Sometimes I'd reach for a complex word, a specific memory, and it would just be gone. Not forgotten, but like it had been filed away in a drawer I couldn't open anymore. Or worse, like the concept itself had been simplified. Then came the sounds. Moscow is a noisy city. The traffic, the chatter, the distant hum of the metro. But I started noticing the sounds were flatter, less layered. The honking cars sounded like just a honk, not a unique, angry blast. The chatter of people on the street became a dull murmur without individual voices standing out. It was like the world's audio had been compressed, losing all its rich texture. It was unsettling. It made me feel like I was walking through a painting, not a real place I'd spend hours just observing, looking at people on the street. At first, I thought I was just being paranoid, but then I saw it, the way they walked. It wasn't like robots, no, but it was less unique, less individual sway, less specific stride. Their faces too, not blank, but like the expressions weren't quite as detailed. A smile was just a smile, not Anya's particular kind of joyous, crinkly-eyed smile. It felt like everyone was just a slightly less defined version of themselves. And nobody else seemed to notice. That was the worst part. Their faces, when I tried to talk to them, would just hold this blank, uncomprehending look. Not angry, not confused, just empty. My own apartment, my sanctuary, started to feel strange. My favorite armchair, the one with the worn velvet and the little tear in the armrest. The tear was gone. The velvet felt smooth, like new, but not in a good way. It felt impersonal. Like it was just an armchair, not my armchair. And my books, my beloved collection. The spines, the little imperfections, the way the pages smelled. It was all fading. The smell was gone. The imperfections were gone, they were just books, generic books. It was like the world was shedding its specific character, becoming a template. I started writing things down, every change, every detail. Gargoyle smoothed, street signs straightened, Anya's voice. Less spark. I'd write frantically, trying to anchor myself to something real, but then I'd read it back, and the words, they looked different. My own handwriting, the specific loops and curves I knew so well, they seemed to be simplifying too. Like my hand was forgetting how to make complex shapes. The paper felt different too, somehow thinner, less substantial. It felt like I was writing on a ghost of paper. Anya. My Anya. This was the hardest part. She started to speak in shorter sentences. Her vocabulary, once so rich and full of quirky expressions, was becoming basic. Need food, she'd say, instead of darling, I'm feeling peckish, shall we whip up something delicious? Her laughter, once a bright, tinkling sound, became a softer, more uniform chuckle. And her eyes, her beautiful, expressive eyes, they were still brown, still kind. But the subtle flecks of green, the way they would crinkle when she truly smiled, those unique details were fading. Her movements became smoother, less her own unique rhythm. It was like she was becoming a generic woman template, not the specific, wonderful Anya I loved. I tried to embrace her, to hold on to her, to shake her, to make her see. Anya, I'd whisper, don't you see it? The world is changing, we are changing. She would just look at me with those beautiful, now less distinct eyes, a small, puzzled smile on her face. Ivan, you're tired, everything is fine. Always has been. Her hand in mine felt different too. Not cold, not wrong, just less distinct, less Anya's hand. It made my stomach clench with a cold, hollow fear. A fear that was so deep, it felt like it was dissolving my insides. The pressure behind my eyes was constant now. It felt like a slow, steady drain, like my thoughts were being filtered, simplified before I could even form them. I could feel my own unique perspective, my own complex way of seeing the world slipping away. I tried to recall a memory, a specific, vivid memory of a time we were truly happy, a vacation we took years ago. I tried to remember the feeling of the sun on my skin, the taste of the local food, the specific silly joke Anya made. And it would all be there but flattened, like a photograph that had lost its color and dimension. Just a basic outline, the emotional punch of the memory, the specific joy, it was gone. I began to avoid mirrors. I just couldn't bear to look. The one time I accidentally caught my reflection in a shop window, I saw it, my own face. My nose, it was still my nose, but the slight bump on the bridge, the one I'd had since childhood, it was less noticeable. My eyes, once so sharp, now seemed a little more uniform. My hair even felt like it was losing its specific texture. It felt like I was looking at a prototype of myself, a bland, unfinished version. And the horror wasn't just that I was changing, but that I was adapting to it. My mind, my very perception, was slowly, terrifyingly, conforming to this new, simplified reality. The fear, once sharp and raw, was beginning to feel muted. One morning, I woke up. The pressure behind my eyes, it was gone. Just gone. The room was perfectly neat. The armchair looked perfectly new, perfectly generic. My books were lined up, perfectly uniform. The sounds outside were a gentle, indistinct hum. I looked at Anya sleeping beside me. Her face was calm, smooth. She looked lovely, so perfectly, beautifully bland. Her eyes, when she opened them, were a simple, clear brown. They held no unique sparkle, no hint of the complex, wonderful woman I once knew. Just a soft, unblinking gaze. I reached out and my hand, it felt perfect, smooth. No specific lines, no unique scars, just a hand. And I looked at it and a strange, quiet calm settled over me. There was no more fight. No more desperation. The world was simple. Everything was clear. Everything was just right. And the thought, the very last complex thought I could form, was of how silly it had been to worry. Everything was just fine. There was nothing to worry about at all. I smiled. A simple, perfectly symmetrical smile. And for the first time in a very long time, I felt truly content. So calm. So very, very calm. What was your favorite insight from this chilling story? Share your thoughts below.